We must work the works of the one who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. Night is coming when no one can work. Staying at home, not coming to church, not going to jobs, not going to school, not going anywhere really in this pandemic. Is this the night when no one can work? And of course, we're not talking about the work of our day jobs. We're not talking about all the million things we do every day to keep the economic ball rolling. This is not the work Jesus is describing. Jesus is talking about the work of God, the work of rescuing the world and making it whole again. So we've heard today two very, very dramatic stories about the way God works in the world, and it's very familiar to us, is it not? God uses really unlikely people for the purpose God only understands, and it works. David, who is the central hero of the story of Israel, the beloved king, the psalmist, the patriarch from whom Jesus himself will come, begins his illustrious career as a shepherd and a lyre player. He is the 8th son of a Bethlehem sheep breeder, an adolescent who is nobody's idea of the next king of Israel. And yet, God sweeps away the objections of his prophet Samuel and anoints David as king in secret, while the current king Saul is yet on the throne. And ever thereafter, no matter what kind of trouble David got into, and he got into a lot of trouble, ever thereafter, people said about him, he is the anointed one. And if David is an unlikely choice for heroic leadership of Israel, Jesus is even more so. In the story today, the Pharisees wonder how anybody like Jesus, a man without credentials, clearly working outside the law, could even vaguely be worth taking seriously. The Pharisees wondered how Jesus could hope or dare to do anything for this blind man, because blindness was a result of his parents' sin or his own in their way of thinking. How could anybody claiming to be a good Jew offer help or believe he could make a difference or violate the Sabbath law for a sinner like this? How could anybody believe that this man does? And yet, we hear the man begins to see, and he not only begins to see, he begins to know who Jesus is. And when he feels his body becoming whole, when he has eyes that see, he begins to know what it means to be loved without condition, without even asking, because love heals that sense of not mattering. My friends, maybe we are feeling blind here in the face of this virus. We can see it coming, sort of, but we can't stop it, and we don't know where it will take us, and we don't know when it will end. We are out tending the sheep and plucking a few strings on our lyres, while all the time the Philistine COVID Army 19 is out there waiting to be conquered. And among us are people who are so marginalized, so blind in so many ways, for so many reasons. They feel that they don't matter. They feel that they don't matter, and if they get sick, they might not matter. And yet there's another point of view. There are always more than one point of view in these stories. We are all Pharisees in some way or another, don't you think? We're all afraid that our way of living may be threatened. I'm sure you've heard, as I have, that the climate gets better every day with fewer cars and boats. We see more clearly that to have a climate healing, we have to have fewer cars. And it's not just our cars we might lose. It's our livelihood. We, like the Pharisees, may face job loss, and we can be blinded by this fear. We're reading the gospel here 2,000 years after it was written, and we shake our heads at the Pharisees, but they were people trying to do the right thing who were very frightened that they had gotten it all wrong when Jesus came along. And truly, we're also like the Israelites as well, looking for a good king who could lead us securely home. And we don't think that the answer is right in front of us, right inside us. It's tough to see the truth when you're scared and worried about survival. Everything says pull back and not reach out. It was tough for the Israelites. It was tough for Samuel the prophet. It was tough for the Pharisees, and it's tough for us. But we are not just people looking for a cure. We are also the living body of Jesus. We have been anointed as David was anointed. We are the body of Christ, the one who did overcome the night when no one could work. And as I like to remind myself, and probably I remind you too much too, Jesus himself took his time growing into his healing power. 3 weeks ago, we talked about the temptation in the wilderness where Jesus went to self-quarantine, as it were, so he could face his fears and temptations and accept his mission. And our other hero, David, had so many tests. Take Goliath, for instance, or don't forget Bathsheba, and so many wars. And he didn't win them all, but he persevered. He was the anointed one. We remember also that Jesus needed to be coaxed a little bit by the people he healed. And then even then he would say, tell no one. Jesus had to become the healer, the Christ that he was born to be. He had to pass so many tests before he met the challenge of the cross. We believe, however, that Jesus did become the ultimate healer, the Christ, and that after his death, he transformed all of us so that we are healers, as Christ is a healer. We are here now with each other because with each other, we become better and better at accepting the challenge of healing the world. Now is our time. Now is our test. Now we have to reach inside ourselves, find the Christ, and reach back out to each other. There are as many ways to reach out in healing love as there are people. These annoying restrictions, this social distancing, this no school, no work, no nothing, these are not barriers really to healing love. You don't need money. You don't need influence. You don't need experience. You don't even need to be there in what we think of as in person. You have what you need. Because although you may feel as though you were born blind, if you look again, right now, you will see what is real. You will see what the world needs from you. We're all with you, and we love you, and we need you now. So may our inscrutable God bless us all and keep us whole.